Board of Zoning Appeals, starting September the 26th, sorry, 2022. First thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from September 12th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Move to approve by Mr. King and second by Mr. Ball. All those, okay, I have to roll call. Trent,
Yay.
Mr. King?
Yay.
Mr. Muller? And I'm a yay. Thank you. Second thing is a special requests and continuances. First, we have two requests for continuance.
Madam Chair, my name is Russell Brown. I'm an attorney for Quick Trip. I'm appearing via Zoom, which I appreciate this evening. My client is requesting that we continue BZA 033 and BZA 034 to your October 24th meeting. And the purpose of that continuance is so that we can provide additional traffic analysis to the file before this matter comes back to the board.
Okay, we have a request for continuance for BZA 2022-033 and 034. Do we have that motion?
So moved.
I do have a question.
No question here?
Would we be October 24th? Is it already packed? We're not.
Oh, how long are we asking for the continuance?
Yeah, October 24th was my request.
I know that we have the Chipman appeal that night, but it's not complex, and I don't think it will take an extended period of time.
Yeah, I'm just.
We do have a couple other items on the 24th. Let me pull those up. I believe it is Kohl's electric vehicle message signage on their electric charging stations for cars.
Just need to tell how many petitions you have filed that are already.
There's two filed. One's for building materials and the other one's for signage.
So, I'm sorry. So we would have, if we move these two to the 24th, then we would have 4 petitions and 1 hearing. Is that correct?
And we did receive a petition today that will go on the 1st November meeting that has 7 variances in it. So
Do we see that this is going to be a problem? Just continue to the 24th?
That is up to you.
Well, I
What is the
didn't- I
board's
didn't-
preference?
I didn't know if we had
That's fine.
substantial.
I think that, no, I don't think that's gonna overwhelm it. So,
So Trent, did you have any comments or questions on this request?
Well, if it's going to overpack the 24th, then let's look at, well, there's 5 Mondays in October, so it would be like November 14th, wouldn't it, or 13th? Would be the next meeting after the October 24th one. It's either that or the October 12th. But I don't have a problem with the 24th. I mean, if you don't
That would
think.
give us 4 petitions on the 24th and a hearing. And the hearing may or may not take long depending on the outcome of a vote this week.
Is that the hearing that got continued last meeting?
Yes. Yes.
I'm good either way. I'll be there on the 24th, so I'm good either way.
Okay. Then I'll entertain a motion.
move to continue to the 24th. Second. Both documents. Yep.
We have a motion to accept the continuance requests for BCA 2022-033 and 034 to October the 24th, 2022. We'll take roll call on voting. Mr. Kohler,
Yay.
Mr. King,
Yay.
Mr. Mall,
Yay.
and I'm a yay. So motion carries 4-0.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next month.
Okay. All right, now we have findings of fact of BCA 2022-030 Development Standards Variance for JCPL for the property at 1664 Library Boulevard.
Madam Chairman, in consideration of the statutory criteria, I move that we adopt the written findings of fact as presented, incorporating the evidence submitted into record as our final decision and final action for variance petition number BZA 2022-030.
Motion by Mr. Mall,
Second.
second by Mr. King. Okay, roll call voting. Mr. Kohler,
Yay.
Mr. King,
Yay.
Mr. Mall,
Yay.
and I'm a yay. Motion carries 4-0. Good.
It's possible.
Okay, do we have any old business up here? Any old business from the floor? We have. Go ahead and take the microphone. So, we probably should go ahead and get sworn for anything that you might want to present.
No, it's not a public hearing. I don't think you've advertised a hearing on
No,
anything, so
so
we don't need
you-
to
you can just
administer
speak.
the oath.
Okay, want to go ahead? Give us your name.
My name is Kevin Kelly, Kelley, and I reside at 801 West Oakwood Drive, Grand Greenwood, and I've been a resident there for 44 years. My home is at the southwest corner, and the house immediately to the west, which is 813 West Oakwood Drive, made the residents there, Ms. Diana Jolliffe, made a petition for a variance to build a third bay of a garage on the east side of their property adjacent to my property. The variance going from a 10-foot setback from the property line to 7.5 foot because of the 15-foot wide easement divided down half, 7.5 feet on either side. She was, based on the plan she submitted and the dimensions shown, she was told that she had to be, include the roof line, 7.5 feet, resubmit, and then included the overhang. She went through a number of more submittals, my understanding is, talking with city planners today, again, and Friday, and finally got it approved so that it would fit within the dimensions shown on the plans. They started construction, delivered materials last week, and on Friday, I went over just to nose around. And I noticed that instead of building a footer for a foundation, which would have extended past the existing driveway slab, in order to conserve space, they were going to go with a pole barn construction and had saw cut the slab. And already had a couple of 6x6s buried in it. But at the same time, I noticed that the building, what would be the outside of the building, was still, in my estimation, not 7.5 feet off the center line of the property line, but approximately 4 feet. And as it turns out, 4 feet 1 inch from the property line. That concerned me because it obviously was not what I was led to, what the city had agreed to relative to the variance. Certainly was outside of the 10-foot, original 10-foot, and was approximately 3.5 feet into told me, I said, that's not 7.5 feet, that's 4 feet. He says, well, I think it was 5 feet, and, I didn't think so. But anyway, I was concerned, and as I told her in both a voicemail and in talking to her last night, a voicemail left on her phone Sunday night and talking to her later Sunday night, it bothers me that they have apparently someone has misrepresented what was presented and approved, most likely. I did not know who. I wanted to find out who. My preference, and I also told them too, because of obviously the friction this is going to create, because I did contact the city and questioned it. Between her and I would hate to say this, be willing to let it go, but there still need to be some answers brought forth. And if there was somebody who, relative to the plan design, as an architect or engineer or someone, obviously they're professional, they would have a hit on their errors and omissions possibly. But I'm having a hunch it's not wasn't done by a PE or licensed architect. So today, your members of the planning department came out a little before noon, taking a good part of their lunch hour, have lunch, and red flag the construction to see where we're gonna go from here.
So I guess the question is, since we had heard this petition and we made a condition that, a commitment that it could not infringe on the 7.5 foot easement, where do we go from here? I mean, this is definitely a violation of the approval.
I would note that the plans as submitted would comply totally. The problem is that what is reality, which is that there is the slab that was poured by the previous owner extends out about 13 feet 10 inches, and then and actually over the easement, but that's a slab, not a building, and that leaves approximately 4 feet 1 inch between the edge of that slab and the center line of the property, and 3.5 feet roughly into the easement. The plans reflect some alternative facts if someone thought that that was the real dimension. So someone either didn't know how to measure, never did measure, or didn't care. And that's what I have concern with too, because basically what is presented to the city is not factual.
I can speak towards this because, yes, Kevin and I did go out to inspect the property. The property line was marked. It was measured. We got approximately 4 feet where that kind of the first wooden beam was erected. We verbally gave them, told the contractors to stop, and the property owner ended up coming out. We also recommended that she stop all construction immediately until this was sorted out. Later that afternoon, residential building inspector did red tag the project, which is a formal stop work order. So in addition to the verbal, they did get the formal red tag. Basically, they are in a drainage and utility easement, which would need to go before the Board of Public Works and Safety for approval. And they're also within the approved 7.5 foot setback that was approved here. So we've told her to stop work. She will need to resubmit plans that show that her building is correctly out of the 7.5 foot setback and easement, and those plans will need to be reviewed before they can be approved. What is there now cannot remain there, and we've communicated this to the property owner. I don't know if there is additional step beyond what we've done in the field and without any collaboration with our building department. But he's correct, the plot plan that we received showed that there was enough room for a 13-foot, 10-inch garage addition, as well as a 7.5-foot easement. But there is not that space there in the real world. That is incorrect information that was given to the city. There was only enough room for about 4 feet. So the plans will have to be revised to reflect what has been surveyed and marked. I'm not sure if it's been officially surveyed, but the property has been marked. It will have to reflect that before we can approve it. But that's basically the action we've taken so far.
So now, if the Public Works says that they don't have a problem with that, she would still have to come back to the Board of Zoning Appeals to get a waiver for infringement into that easement.
She would need permission from the Board of Works and Safety to be operating inside a drainage and utility easement. She'd also need permission from BZA through possibly another variance to further reduce her setback to, let's say, 4 feet, approximately 4 feet. Right now, she has approvals to reduce it to 7.5 feet, but she has reduced it more than she was allowed to through our process.
So that the ordinance originally said 10 feet. We allowed to the 7.5, and so she's not even close to any of that.
No, she's off by about 3.5 feet.
So I'm just trying to figure out when somebody violates the conditions that are commitments that we agreed to, how would we proceed from that point? That's where I was looking at what's next. So at this point,
What is the next thing told her? She has to have permission to approach into the drainage and utility easement. She either has to, she wants to keep it where it is, where she's begun the construction. She would have to appear before the BZA for an additional variance, because the condition is you are allowed to build a garage, but you have to have a 7.5-foot setback. She does not. So if she does not come back for another variance and she continues to construct, then we would have to do an enforcement action that she's in violation of her condition, and take her to court, and we could ask for injunctive relief, and the court could order her to remove what she has so far constructed to comply.
so at this point, it's in her ballpark. So as long as there's nothing proceeding with the construction until, but at least it's on the record that we're aware that there was an attempt to violate.
Correct. There might be some small additional work to patch up the roof on her garage. The roof is exposed because that's where the attachment was going to feed into. The contractors expressed that they will patch up the roof area so we don't have further problems with water damage or something along those. So there may be some additional work out there, but it should not be work that is supporting the erection of this illegal structure. It would just be to secure the site.
Okay, Mr. Kelly?
I did indicate to Diana that, of course, there was going to be a meeting tonight at 6 o'clock. And I don't know whether she quite understood that or not. Also, when we were out there meeting, when we were out there, she stopped talking my hands. Myra's not indicted. When we were meeting out with her, she kept saying, I have a permit. I have my permits. I have them all. And I would hope that in any correspondence or information she's told, we to understand that she has a permit, and really make understand that she has a permit for what was proposed. But again, the idea of the difference between facts and alternative facts. And that, somebody, her comment was, excuse me, she said, I'm screwed. Well, probably blaming me for opening my mouth and saying something. Although I think sooner or later, somebody else might have said something too, or final inspection, somebody might have scratched their head and said, wait a minute here. And she'd have potentially even a worse problem facing her. Again, I really don't want to create any animosity between my new neighbors and her, but she was obviously very upset, and I tried to make her understand that there are other people who may be responsible, including whoever drew the plans up, but she did not seem to care about that. Her blame was with me, and I think you guys felt a little of that time on you too. So anything you can do to soften that, I would appreciate it.
I think it's in the cities.
But I hate being here.
They've got the information now. It's in her ballpark to pursue what she needs to do and communicate with the city. Would that be correct?
Yeah, that would be correct. She reached out over a phone call with me today after we met out on site. She was going to be following up with our residential building inspector, trying to look at next steps, possibly an extension, or a pause on her permit until she can get the revised drawings. But she is working with the city currently.
Okay. So I think we've got it under control on this side, and that'll be between her and the city now. Thank you for the information.
Thank you. This is the first time in 40 years that I haven't been here with, Ed wasn't here, so. Thank you.
Okay. No more old business from the floor. We'll move on to new business. First, petition on the docket is BCA 2022-031 use variance for an approval of a use variance in order to operate a personal care beauty service salon at 380 South Madison Avenue, where salons are not permitted for use in the Old Town zone. Before we begin, we want to check to see if all the notices are in order.
They're in order and in the file.
And I will now place in the file a certified copy of the comprehensive plan and the unified development ordinance.
Thank you. All those wishing to present or for or against, please stand and be sworn in by our secretary.
Each right on this perjury. Testimony is true to best knowledge.
If you'll go ahead and go to the podium and give us your name and address before you begin.
Yeah,
Yes.
Dawn Better. This is 90 Suncrest Drive, Greenwood, Indiana. This is 143.
Okay, go ahead and tell us why you're here today.
I am here to get a zoning variance approved for 380 South Madison, Suite C and D, I believe. It's two of the suites combined. It was remodeled, I believe, in 2013 to be a salon, and then was used as something different for a few years after that. It hasn't really been touched when it comes to how it's set up to be a salon. I don't have this paint on the walls, but it's new and ready. So that's why I kind of left the variance.
Okay, and do you have your statutory criteria with you?
Sure, what is that?
We need to read that into the record. I will start you out. Number one, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because
The inclusion of the salon will add to the diversity of personal care options in Old Town Greenwood. It will be run in a way that will promote community fellowship, as it will offer full services to men, women, and kids, and it will also be very family friendly and positive and oriented. Right.
Number 2, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because
This law will improve the positive impact that the building has the potential of having on the surrounding area.
Number 3, the need for the variance arises from some condition peculiar to the property involved because
The current zoning does not allow personal care businesses to open without an approved use variance.
Number 4, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will constitute an unusual and unnecessary hardship if applied to the property for which the variance is sought because
The location is already designed to be a salon. Using it for another reason would add cost and hardship to any other potential business owner.
Number 5, the approval does not interfere substantially with the comprehensive plan because
No interior renovations would need to be made.
with that, read the proposed conditions by the staff that it will operate within a multi-tenant building, visibility limited to wall or window signage on the building, and that customers typically arrive individually or small groups, and so there'd be minimal impact.
That's not a condition, it's just a kind of a summary of the
Summary.
area. Staff has
And
no,
now,
no conditions for this.
do you have anything else you wish to add on it? Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak to this petition, for or against? Anyone online? So we'll close the public hearing. Any questions from the panel? Mr. Mull? Mr. King? Mr. Kohler?
No questions.
Okay. And I'll entertain a motion to enter the evidence into the record.
Madam Chairman, I move that we, excuse me, we admit all the evidence presented in regard to this matter, including the notices, receipts, maps, photographs, written documents, petitioner's application and attachments, petitioner's detailed statement of reasons, staff report prepared by the planning department, certified copies of the Unified Development Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan, testimony of petitioner, city planning staff, and any remonstrators, and all other exhibits presented, be they oral or written, for consideration by this board in regard to this petition, and to include the testimony of those present this evening.
Motion by Mr. King,
Second.
second by Mr. Mueller. Okay, roll call. Mr. Kohler,
Yay.
Mr. King,
Yay.
Mr. Mull,
Yay.
and I'm a yay, so motion carries 4-0. Now entertain a motion on the decision.
Move that we approve. Sorry, I almost said that. Yes, there are no conditions. So approve it as is.
Motion to approve with no conditions, second by Mr. King and second by Mr. Mull. So we'll do roll call. Mr. Kohler,
Yay.
Mr. King,
Yay.
Mr. Mull,
Yay.
and I'm a yay. Motion carries 4-0. Entertain a motion for issuing findings of fact.
I'll do that. Having considered the statutory criteria, I move that we direct the Corporation's Counsel Office to draft written findings of fact regarding our decision on the variance request presented in variance number BZA 2022-031.
Yes.
Okay. Said findings to specifically incorporate the staff report and the evidence submitted in the record for consideration and adoption by the Board of Zoning Appeals as our final decision and final action regarding this petition at our next meeting.
Motion by Mr. Kohler, second by Mr. King. Okay, roll call. Mr. Kohler,
Yay.
Mr. Mull,
Yay.
Mr. King,
Yay.
and I'm yay. Motion carries 4-0. You are approved to go ahead, working through the process that your request has been approved. We'll finalize it at our next meeting. that you can go ahead and continue on. Okay? You won't need to worry about it. It's just a formality on our part.
Okay.
So you're good to go. All right. I see no more petitions on the docket. Any new business from the floor?
If Stevie's listening, I will need a ballot and the pay app. She can email that to me.
She's working on it right now.
Thank you.
Okay, any other new business? Announcements?
We will have an agenda for the 10th. Right now, we have 2 petitions on the docket.
Anything else?
Okay.
Everybody else is good? No more announcements? Take a motion to adjourn? Somebody say something.
So moved.
All right, we're adjourned.